I have seen edition changes from 2nd edition into 3rd edition, and now 10th edition into 11th edition of Warhammer 40,000. I am here to tell you, don't panic and remain indoors. This is a very mild change compared to edition changes of the past. This is nothing like the massive rework of the game that 2nd edition to 3rd edition was, where basically everything was reset and you no longer had percentages deciding how much of your army could be made up of characters or troops. Instead, you had the force organization chart, which isn't around anymore. Battle line units are not compulsory. And it's not like 7th edition to 8th edition, which got rid of a lot of tables and replaced it with a simpler table. Games Workshop has done these minor edition changes every other edition for a while now. 6th into 7th, basically the same, it had the same starter set. 8th edition to 9th edition, 10th edition to 11th edition. We are not going back to index. All current codex and the detachment and the unit rules within are the same, presumably with minor updates already received, like word fixes so that it works properly, and army rule changes. Yes, we're looking at Eugene Steeler Cult, but that also includes any detachment rule nerfs. Bringers of Flame. There'll be a minor update to make the wording work into 11th edition, and some things that give -1 to hit may be changed to give the benefit of cover. Just so you can't stack with the benefit of cover, because the benefit of cover and the benefit of cover overall gives you 1 times the benefit of cover. So your army should be pretty much the same as it is right now in rules terms, with the same detachments, pretty much. Yes, some of them have been reworked, but there's a few new detachment options. Don't panic, and don't look behind you. You know, to previous editions. You want to play the most recent edition. That is what everyone else will be playing. Finding a person who wants to regularly play an older edition is rare. An event catering to it will be even rarer. And then you've got to pick when within an edition you do. Do you go for the end? Well, the end is usually unbalanced because the writers of the rules are looking towards the next edition. You could tell from the way we had some weird stuff appearing at the end of 9th edition and some weird stuff appearing at the end of 10th edition, which was not well balanced in terms of points or abilities. So unless you have a small play group that really likes one edition and doesn't want any new models, everyone else is going to be playing the latest edition. If you like 10th edition, 11th edition is more of the same. Very similar. If you didn't like 10th edition, maybe 11th edition fixes the problem. And if you don't like part of 11th edition, like if there really was a rule your group hated, such as the terrain layouts, use your own footprints. Don't panic and stay away from the windows and doors for the duration of this video. Legends become a horrifying concept all of a sudden. Like you suddenly forget that Legends units are still the same unit with the same rules, but are not advised to be taken at tournaments, and some tournaments will allow them. So only a small number of people should have grounds to worry. You know, the tournament players. And yet everyone worries. Let's see if I can help a bit more. Not like to support the worrying, but to allay the worrying. Nothing should go to Legends before the Codex comes out. This makes the Codex release a double-edged bladed weapon. There's new stuff, there's new detachments, new units, potential reworking of the army rule, but also some of your units leave tournament advised play mode. At that point, any units in Legends are going to be added to the 40k 11th edition app for you to continue using. I would like Games Workshop to give more of a heads up on what's going to be Legends as a sort of last chance to buy, as they do with Age of Sigmar, before I continue using the units anyway, because Legends rules are valid to play. Don't panic. Wearing socks is advised. And a codex is probable. In the most recent editions, almost all armies got a new codex. Unlike in 4th or 5th edition, where most of the armies got a new codex, and others used their older compatible past edition codex for the entirety of that edition. Like you might get a codex a year into 4th edition, and that will see you through 4th edition and all of 5th edition, and then into 6th edition. In 10th edition, only Demons and Deathwatch didn't get a codex or codex supplement book. So, Deathwatch in 11th edition. It's unclear what happens. Despite it being their most popular question, Games Workshop released an incredibly unclear statement.
This is one of the most asked questions, I think, or close to. It says, Is Deathwatch still an army in the new edition? I got worried when they didn't feature alongside Space Marines in their faction focus.
Yeah, so we got quite a lot of this question in. Lots of you playing Deathwatch want to make sure your army still works in the new edition. It absolutely does. Deathwatch continue to work kind of as they do today. So you can either add them into Imperial armies through Imperial agents, through the ally system, or you can take a Space Marine army and say this is a Deathwatch Space Marine army. You don't get any new detachments necessarily in the new edition as it launches, but you can access all the various different Space Marine detachments that other Space Marine chapters can as well. So you still got a few options in terms of how your detachments might work.
Sure, that makes sense.
Maybe they carry on with the Imperial Agents version and a separate Adeptus Astartes index, or Games Workshop once again tries to delete the Adeptus Astartes Deathwatch and leaves them as Imperial Agents only. I think it would be really stupid for Games Workshop to remove the army index and all the kill teams when copy and paste is so easy. They would be starting off the edition with a war, one that Games Workshop already lost 2 years ago when it was pretty clear people want to play Deathwatch, as they have done for 9 years, as a Space Marine sub-faction. Happy thoughts, don't panic. Clean lingering dust from your room. We're going to get points per weapon on some weapons. Think all multi-melters for Retributors. I don't think we're going to box lock things until the Codex, so you should be okay to still build some things as the rules are now. The points will be slightly different, that's fine. They're not going to invalidate having 4 multi-melters in a Retributor squad, even though you can only have 2 Retributors with multi-melters from the bits in the box. It's the Codex that changes the unit size and the weapon options. But multi-melters may go up in points, like 5 points to change the default heavy bolter into a multi-melter, and instead of 120 points, Retributors cost 100 points, then with 5 points more for each multi-melter you take. Points values for your unit will change, but that has been happening every 3 months. This is nothing new, don't panic. Ensure to securely close the lid on any paint pots once you're done using them. You don't need a new army in the new edition. Your current army is fine. One must imagine Sisyphus happy, buying a new Space Marine army until he has a new Space Marine army for every edition. If I bought a new army each time the edition changed, I would have like 10 armies, and I only have... Shut up. Anyway, melee armies look to have an advantage in 11th edition, what with the hidden rule. But there are lots of ways around that. However, with objectives as terrain, it is harder to hide your army. Shooting is very viable. From this terrain piece on the right, you can see loads of the board, including into every objective building. You shouldn't discard your Tau and take up a new army because of 11th edition rules in isolation. There are many better reasons to discard Tau. So what are you gonna do? There are a few weeks left until the new edition. I would say try out a campaign or a detachment you never got round to, but you can still do that in 11th edition with the same campaign and detachments. It's usual not to buy anything new, save money for the so-called essentials of the new edition, the new mission decks, new area terrain, new terrain that comes pre-painted, or you could make your own layouts from card. We have the sizes of the squares, even though the Games Workshop versions are not like this. They have bits sticking out, and the central triangles are not a triangle, but they're triangle shaped with 4 sides. And you don't need to run out and buy more things to have a 2,000 point army if that was your goal. The number of units per game size is going to be about the same. Paint up what you have. Maybe what you haven't painted will become good in the new edition. I'm expecting the Genestealer Cult Magos will be good with their ability to remove Battle Shock, which otherwise persists, and they can make enemies, even enemies they can't see, -1 to their hit rolls. Assuming that rule remains unchanged, and Games Workshop will permit the Magos to be actually good. The units will be fine going into next edition with Space Marines and Orcs having the shortest window until their codex comes out, but that's expected in September. You have time. Maybe try some other game systems. Playing 40k right now when you have some 11th edition rules in your head, but also you don't want to try and remember 10th edition rules too solidly, as those rules will change in some small annoying way. How far do you have to be away to make a charge? Can't charge if you can't reach the enemy with that dice roll. No more within an inch is fine. See what else your local group is into. Play some Conflict 47. There's a new campaign book called Invasion America coming out, which you can pre-order through my affiliate link in the description from the 31st of May. You could play that. If you're not super stoked about the new 11th edition, don't panic. Sit down and remain seated for the remainder of the video. Plan for what you're going to do. I'll probably spend a day or two reading over the new rules and the army changes before I start making videos on anything. For gameplay, I don't recommend launching into a tournament. At the start of 10th edition, tournament organizers were way too optimistic that everyone will have read thoroughly through the rules, and they assume that the newest games of the new edition, when everyone is sort of a new player, will take as much time as they currently do for experienced players of the current edition. It won't. And Games Workshop has said in a Q&A that they expect the games to take the same amount of time. A lot of people are going to run out of time in tournament games. People will come to a tournament to learn how to play and assume their opponent knows the rules well enough to teach them as they go. At the end of the first 10th edition event I went to, there were 2 players using 9th edition rules because they did not know how to play 10th edition. I would avoid events until you are comfortable with the new rules. It stops you feeling like a burden and stops people making up rules, and you will have no idea if they're true or not. I recommend lots of 1000 point games. Try 2 of the new 1 detachment point detachments, or try a new codex detachment worth 2 detachment points in the new edition. See what has changed. And then expect the Games Workshop will rush out several emergency balance patches within the first few weeks to cover glaring flaws that their rules writers did not spot, but the community noticed within a few hours. Digital rules are updated. Paper rules need copious amount of sticky notes correcting them. If you don't like the rules on launch, I promise they will not stay that way for very long. Don't panic, and have a great day of 40k.